most people just are too busy, and they don't have the free time in their life to even, let's say, really cook well and prepare food well.
Mm,
And so I'd say maybe if there's a place to start for a lot of people, it's to start to own your time as much as you can.
mm,
It's almost like everything follows after that. But if you don't have that and you don't carve out your time, because what's more valuable than your own time, then there's so little else you can really do if you don't have, there's only 24 hours a day for the billionaire and for the person who has very little money. We all have just 24 hours a day. So that's kind of the core value. And so anything you can do to own your own time is probably like the bedrock of this whole process in a lot of ways. The biggest mistake that often people make is that they focus on the site and not the context, the general location. Who are the neighbors? Who's uphill? Who's down the road?
mhm.
Because that's actually the things you can't change ever later. Like, you can change a lot about your site, but the things you can't change and they still matter a lot, is who's your neighbors and who's uphill and who's upwind. I think the biggest thing I can think of is to start trading with your neighbors. Is to get to know your neighbors, but trading stuff is like kind of the most organic way that we make connections as human beings, is trade. Hey, you got a bunch of this, I got a bunch of this, let's swap. We can just set up more intentional neighborhoods. That's more the idea of an intentional neighborhood, that kind of term, seems more realistic for like the bulk of people. And if we can just kind of move to similar areas with similar minded people and do similar things in synergy, but have a lot of autonomy, I think that's where a lot of the good stuff can happen today. And again, if you can do it in like commonly held land, all the better, but that's just a lot of challenges to that. As far as strategies for that, oh, there's so many. It's a whole nother conversation. But if you can shop for land with people and like figure out what are the private land holdings in the beginning and like almost like subdivide that out, but come up with like a condo association model, that's one way to think about it, with some land held in common. Like co-housing types of developments can be quite robust and resilient, even with different people and people coming in and out. That can be a good way to think through some of these things, I think. But it's the social piece is far more challenging than the technical land and infrastructure piece. When you start to choose a more hands-on lifestyle, which is really what this is all about. I mean, there's this word, modern homesteading, and I know we're talking about this as a homesteading approach, but that's kind of loaded with all different ideas. But it's really just a more hands-on way to be.
Yeah.
And when you start doing that stuff, you start growing some food or heating your home with wood that you harvested and split, or whatever it is, cooking. It could be cooking a meal for some people. Any of these innumerable steps that we can take to meet our own needs. It's all just incredibly empowering. It just makes you, every step you do in that world makes you realize that you have a lot more power than you've considered yourself as having. And you really are able to do a lot more than you thought you could. And you're more of a creature of this planet, and you're more sovereign than you thought you were. And yeah, you're just kind of more capable than you really kind of considered yourself. Largely because you probably never even thought about it.
Mhm.
Not that you thought you weren't capable, but you just didn't realize your capabilities.
Mhm.
And I think that's the biggest thing, is making intentional moves away from convenience and ease, which are always associated with depending on others and unseen systems to provide for you. But you lose meaning when you do that trade, you do that exchange. All of those, lead to just an empowering sense of your life and kind of what you can do. And it's very self-affirming and it usually leads people deeper and deeper to realize into that world of doing more and more, and just becoming more and more fluent with meeting their own needs.